welcome back to another episode where we get to spotlight different businesses on what they love about their business, their networking group, and just talking a little bit about their community. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Talisha with us today. Talisha, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, Talisha has become a really great friend of my family. She's in the BNI networking, what's it called, organization with my mom. She's in
Mhm.
that chapter with my mom, and just in general, she's always come to our little parties over at our house. So we've just been having a great time getting to know her. So, Talisha, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about your journey coming here to Flagler?
So I moved to Palm Coast from Georgia. I moved from a little small town, Monroe, Georgia, in 2008. It's weird how we actually discovered Palm Coast because I've been with my husband forever, and
Mhm.
we started coming to Daytona in 1992 for Bike Week. So his parents had motorcycles. He got a motorcycle when he was 16. So we would come to Daytona, and there was something about, I can remember like in 1995 when our first child was born, we were going down 95 and I seen Palm Coast, and I was just wondering, wow, that just sounds like a neat town. We didn't get off the exit. We literally drove past, went to Titusville because that's where we stayed. And in 2003, we moved to Paisley, Florida, which is a little small town in Lake County. Only lived there for a year, moved back to Georgia. And then in 2008, we had a trucking company, and we were coming to Florida to haul cars out of Florida and take them out west. So I was like, you know what? Let's move to Florida because we can get the cars locally and then not have to travel from Georgia to Florida. So, we were like, where do we move? Do we want to move back to Paisley? Where do we move? And I was like, let's try Palm Coast. So my sister was down for spring break one year. Me and a friend of mine came down, and we left Daytona, and I was like, let's go look at houses in Palm Coast. And my friend was like, okay. So we came up to the Palm Coast exit. Back then, they had the penny saver. Picked up a penny saver, and I seen a house for rent in the B section on the canal. And I called the lady up and I was like, hey, can you show me the house? Me and a friend of mine went and looked at it, and immediately I was like, this is the house I want. And so we signed paperwork that day to hold it. Went home. 3 weeks later, we were on our way to Palm Coast to live. Our parents thought we were crazy. They didn't think that we would do it, but we did it. And so
Wow.
we moved to Palm Coast in '08. In 2016, we moved out of Palm Coast to St. John's because we wanted a little bit more land. So now I live in Flagler Estates in Hastings, but Palm Coast is still like my home. That's where our kids went to school. So it's really just the exit, just the name Palm Coast just intrigued me. And I was like, let's move there because I knew I didn't want to move to Daytona. I just wanted to move to Palm Coast, and we loved it. It was the best place to raise our kids. They grew up riding skateboards, bicycles, going fishing. I mean, they had the actual childhood that you want your kids to have. It was great.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I really love that question because I feel like I just get a different answer every single time. Everyone has their own, very unique, in my opinion, story when it comes to Palm Coast. Because I've kind of shared this before, but it's not really like, like LA or New York City,
Yeah.
or maybe even Orlando, for all I know, where people are like, oh, my dream was to always move there. It's usually just like, here's a story on how I just found out that this place existed.
Yeah.
And that's so awesome that you're able to kind of find that and that you've been able to build that community because 2008 was a long time ago. But on top of that, you've just seen Palm Coast completely change since then.
Oh gosh, it has. I was just talking to a friend of mine last night. I was like, like we moved here in '08, and she was like, I moved here in '08 too. I was like, the things that we've seen changed. And then my other friend was like, I moved here in 2020 and I've seen it change so much.
Yeah. I moved here in
So,
2022 and I've seen a change because we didn't have BJ's in 2022.
right.
And that was like, and we didn't have what is it? It's Miller's and it's Longhorn stores.
Longhorn
And like
and
all
Miller's
of
and
those
House. Yeah.
within the past year, which is crazy. So we all
Mhm.
have our own little story of seeing Palm Coast build up, and I'm sure it'll just completely evolve and stuff as time goes on. But I'd love to switch gears just a little bit and share for you to share just a little bit on what you do and how you help people.
So I work for Blue Ocean Title. I have been with Blue Ocean Title for 7 years. We are a title company here in Flagler County. We have 5 different offices. We have Nassau, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Palm Coast, and Port Orange. And we do real estate closings. But not only real estate closings, we have 2 attorneys on board that can help with probate, like their attorneys. So we
Mm,
can handle in-house probate. We can handle any kind of escrow disputes. So we are a little bit different from your regular title company. And we do a good job. I mean, not to toot our own horn, but we really are involved in our work and we care. We care about our realtors, we care about our lenders, and with me, like just becoming um a title agent here in here in Florida. In Georgia, I just work for an attorney. You didn't have to have your license. But here, when I started working for title companies and working with realtors, I have so many, and it's not just acquaintances, friends. And it's because I care so much about their work and I want to see them succeed. So I try to do whatever I can to help them succeed. So there's times where I'm on the phone with a realtor at 10 o'clock at night talking about a deal or doing a net sheet, or I can travel all over the state of Florida to do your real estate closing. I've traveled to Tallahassee to do a real estate closing because of a great friend who was over there. I've traveled to Altamont to do closings and I stayed overnight because the people had to do it at a certain time. I've met clients at 11 o'clock at night at Bucky's because the realtor had to go pick the client up from Columbia. I mean, he flew in from Columbia. They had to pick the client up and meet at Bucky's because of where I live, so we wasn't meeting so late. So it's just I love it. And we help so many people. And then it's their most like this is like one of their most important times when they're purchasing a home. I mean, it's the most expensive purchase that they're purchasing. They have to wire funds and they're wiring like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable with wiring those. We want to make sure that we're engaged with them so that they know that they're speaking to the right people when they call to verify wiring instructions because fraud is so crazy out there right now. I mean, there's been other title companies where people have wired like hundreds of thousands of dollars to some fraudulent person because the hacker hacked the realtor's email address and they acted like someone from a title company, and those people just didn't pick it up and they've wired their funds to some fraudulent person and they never get those funds back. So we're just real the Blue Ocean, and I can honestly say that it is by far like one of the best places that I have ever worked for. And I don't think that I would ever want to work for another title company because of the attorneys that we have. We're like family. My bosses are they mean so much to me. I'm just not their employee. We're friends, we're family, and it's the best company ever. And just to have the attorneys there for backup and the questions that get asked to us because we're not attorneys. we can honestly say, you know what, I can't answer that question for you, but if you give me a little bit, we'll get that question answered for you. So, yeah, Blue Ocean, it's great. We real estate, um, we do our best and we do a really good job at it. We have great closers, we have great processors. I'm doing the marketing right now, but also I'll do closings, I'll process, I'll do whatever needs to be done to get the deal closed. And I gained so many friends from it. It's not just I'm your friend because you're sending me a deal. I'm your friend because I care about you.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of realtor friends and a lot of lender friends that are very close to me because that's the kind of person I am. I just build that relationship and I love it. I mean, just like the relationship with you guys, like your family, Macy, they are so sweet. I don't know if you can see, but every card that y'all have sent me is over
Oh,
a hero.
oh, awesome.
I mean, those cards mean, and they're just cards, but
Sure.
you guys go that extra mile to send those cards out. We go that extra mile to be a good title company. So I
Yeah.
am so blessed to be on this podcast with you, to have met your family, and I just love you guys dearly. Y'all are the
Oh,
sweetest people ever.
thank you. Well, we love knowing you as well. You always come whenever we have events. You always come and you bring something, even if it's not a potluck or anything. Like we're like, oh, just come over, and you always bring something with you as well. So it definitely goes both ways, and we feel that as well. But it's really great to hear how much you guys care about all of these things because I think sometimes when you're not in that business, you don't really think about it unless maybe it's time to sell a house or buy a house, and you just kind of have to go with whatever makes sense, maybe budget wise, or there's some other factors. But customer service is such a big factor that you won't know until you really experience it. And
Right.
I
Yeah.
know my family has been on the receiving end where we've just gotten like the bare minimum service, right? But it's matters like those where you go to Bucky's and you meet someone at what did you say, 11 p.m. in the
11 o'clock at
like
night. Yeah.
11 o'clock at night, which is crazy. And I feel like to be in Bucky's, which is just such like a traffic heavy area so late and dark at night is like a little anxiety inducing to me.
It was a
Um,
little odd. And you have
yeah,
someone, that just got off the plane from Colombia that you've never met before in your life,
you
the
just do
language
anything.
barrier.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so there's always something going on, and that's really great to hear that that's something that you guys are so dedicated to, and I know that you guys are. But just to kind of wrap things up, I mean, you've been a part of something really exciting along with my mom with the founding of BNI Wealth. Do you want to just talk a little bit? Because I don't know if you were like really, really there when they were really getting it off, but you've been there for a long enough
I've
time.
been there for
So,
a while. I was there, I believe it was the second to the last meeting where we met at Bob Evans.
uh,
That's where, yeah, Bob Evans.
yep.
Um, and I'll be honest with you, Ramona. I I I had a network group too, and it was called Seaburn, and it was a Christian referral network group. And when Ramona came to me about BNI, I was like, because I've been in BNI before. I was in BNI in Port Orange. I was part of the power team for almost 2 years, and I loved it. I got great, referrals. The realtor that I worked with was great. The lender, but I knew the commitment that you had to have going into a BNI is every week in person, same time, you can't be late. If you're not there, you got to have a substitute. So I was like, Ramona, let's maybe don't do that. Like, don't try to do the BNI. Let's figure out something with Seaburn. But I seen how dedicated she was to getting this group started. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to be a part of it because I can see how determined Ramona was to start this group. And with the help that she had with everybody that was coming in, I was like, it's going to be big. So I was like, I am going to be a part of it. I'm going to support my friend. I'm going to support my other friends that are in the group. And I was like, I'm going to be part of BNI again. And I love it. I love our group. I love how we've grown. I love the amount of business that's been given so far. And I mean, we're only like 4 months in, I believe. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
4 months. And it's great. I love it. I would never want to be a part of another like BNI because I think ours is the best, of course, because it's ours.
Right.
But I feel like we have big things coming.
Right.
And I love to invite people in just so they can see. And what I love about it is they like when I'm out at like other network functions, I'll ask them, I'll say, are you part of a BNI? And they're like, no, not yet, but I've visited another BNI. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm in a new BNI. And they're like, oh, I've heard about you guys. And I'm like, you have? And they're like, yes, I would love to come visit. And so I'm like, okay, well, come visit. But our name is out there and people know how good we're doing and they want to be a part of it now. So I love that. But
Yeah.
yeah, BNI is a big changer for your business, for working with Sue and working with Ramona. Like we've had deals to where we had like 5 of us from BNI involved. And
Wow.
I mean, that's like 5 of us in one transaction. One of them, there was 4 of us here, but then the fifth was the home inspector and maybe even the roofer. So that maybe there was 6 of us involved, but 4 of us were actually in my closing room closing. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is awesome that we all come together and just supporting each other in everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
As if like a broker's open or open house, or if Sue's having something, or if I'm having something here at the office, I know I can count on my BNI people to be there for me. So I absolutely love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys are absolutely killing it because at the BNI conference, which was not too long ago, it was probably beginning of November, and you guys had just literally like not even officially been chartered yet. Like you guys were just so new, but you guys were still picking up awards there and
Yeah, we
recognition,
got an
which was
award.
awesome. So, Talisha, thank you so much for coming on, spending a few minutes. I mean, you just have so much energy and passion, and it's just so great to be here and to listen and to learn from it. So, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Macy.
Of
I
course.
just love you guys. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
of course, anytime. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.